Hi, y'all. My name's Barry Haack. Have you ever experienced a failure? I know I have. Failure is not an option, we're told. Or maybe you've heard no one plans to fail, they just fail to plan. The point is, public humiliation of a failure event can be disgraceful, humiliating to us even. So we try not to fail, we try to succeed all the time. The point is, failure is going to happen. It's just a natural part of life. We just need to move on from it and learn from it, especially. So, here are a couple quotes from a couple of my favorite people here. C.S. Lewis, may know him from the Chronicles of Narnia, says, "Failures are finger posts on the road to achievement." Robert F. Kennedy, "Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly." And Ellen DeGeneres, I apologize, Ellen, if I butchered your name there. "When you take risks, you learn that there will be times when you succeed and there will be times when you fail, and both are equally important." Today, our failure text is going to be coming from Matthew 14:22 through 32. It's about Jesus and Peter walking on the water. Maybe you've heard this story before. Maybe you've looked at it, and maybe like most of us, you've judged Peter for failing. But here we go. Jesus had just performed a major miracle. He'd fed the 5,000, the disciples are there. He had little food, but he made it a great amount of food. And when we say 5,000, we're talking about men only. That's not including the women and children. Back then, they only counted the men. I know, I get it, ladies. But the point is, he fed a multitude of people with a couple of fish and a couple loaves of bread. So here the disciples are seeing this amazing miracle. They pick up 12 basketfuls of bread on this time that Jesus feeds the crowd, and they take it with them. And here is Jesus getting the disciples into the boat, out of there, and Jesus goes back and he dismisses the crowd. He tells the disciples, sail on the lake, and of course the lake, we're talking about the Sea of Galilee. It's about 4 to 5 miles wide. He gets them in the boat and he tells them to sail to the other side. He goes back and again dismisses the crowd and goes up onto a mountainside to pray. And while he's praying, time slips away. The night quickly starts to go by, and before he knows it, it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, it tells us, fourth watch of the night. So Jesus goes out onto the lake, and he's watching his disciples. He's walking on water. Of course, they're not seeing him just yet, but as he gets closer, they get terrified. They see him, and they cry out in fear. "It's a ghost. What do we do?" And so Jesus calms them and says, "Hey, take courage. It's I." Immediately it says that Peter says, "Hey, call to me, Jesus, and I'll come out to you." What courageous effort by Peter. What boldness. You know, there were other people in the boat, but it's only Peter speaking up here. So he gets out, he goes out onto the lake. And in life, I say there's two kinds of people that swim. And when I say swim, get into a pool. I think there are those that jump into the pool and adjust to the water instantly. And then there are those that dip a toe in, dip a foot in, and then just gradually walk into the water to adjust to it over time. Peter, I believe he was a jumper-inner. He jumped into that lake, landed on it, and starts to walk to Jesus. The problem is he gets away from the boat. And as he draws closer to Jesus, he starts to get his eyes off of Jesus. And he looks at the circumstances. Human. We all look at the circumstances of life and we think, ooh, this is too big. This is too much. We can't handle this. Instead of saying, our God's so big. And so Jesus is still walking on the water. Peter's walking towards him, and Peter sees the wind, the text tells us, and he starts to doubt. And it's when when Peter comes away from the boat, I think that's when the doubt starts to be whispered into Peter's ear from the enemy. Are you sure you're really walking on water? Are you sure Jesus has the power to do this? Are you sure that you're going to be able to make it all the way to him? And that's when Peter starts to doubt and fear creeps in, and he begins to sink into the lake. He cries out to Jesus immediately. He doesn't wait till he's underwater and reaching up a hand. He immediately cries out. Jesus comes rushing over to him, and it says immediately again. The text tells us Jesus is right there on it, reaching out to pick him up and get him out of the water. And as he gets him out of the water, I think Jesus kind of chuckles here. The text doesn't tell us that, but I think Jesus kind of chuckles and says, "You have little faith. Why did you doubt? Did you not look to me Am I not powerful enough? Did you not see me feed the 5,000? I'm walking on water. You could have too. I gave it to you. But you doubted. And then Jesus doesn't say, Peter, walk your butt back to the boat. He walks with Jesus back to the boat. Jesus accompanies him, so caring, so loving, forgiving, helping him, and not just lecturing him. Jesus could have stood there and said, Peter, why? As he's sinking. He doesn't. He rescues him, and then he begins to talk to him and teach him at a teachable moment. So they get back to the boat, get in, everything dies down. The disciples worship Jesus and say, truly, you are the Son of God. Well, enough about Peter. Let's look at the other people who didn't cry out to Jesus, who stayed safe in the boat. They didn't jump out of the boat. There were 11 other men, the text tells us, the disciples. There probably was some other people in the boat too. Matthew doesn't say that. It may have been Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James and John, maybe Joanna and some other men in the boat that all saw Peter sink. But I want to just focus on these 11 other disciples. These men were called by Jesus. They were following him. They'd seen the miracles. They knew what Jesus could do. They knew that he was the Messiah, the one to come into the world, the chosen one, God's Son. All of these names applied to him. They knew this. But only Peter cries out and says, Jesus, if it's you, tell me and I'll come to you. The other 11, they knew he had power. They stayed safe in the boat, not a whisper. And you know what? In humanness, they may have even judged Peter. Man, I could have called out. I could have done that. Why didn't I do that? Oh, that Peter, he's mouthy again and getting out there. Those 11 other men probably were kicking themselves when Peter was walking on the water. And then when he sank, they probably judged him in their own minds. Ah, look at Peter, failing again. Well, Peter didn't mind. He was failing miserably, but he keeps trying. And I'm going to give you one more text to end today on an encouraging note. Matthew 16:16. I really want this scripture to sink into you today. Jesus asked his disciples, who do the people say the Son of Man is? Basically, what's the word on the street about me, guys? They replied, some say John the Baptist. Not the Baptist, the Baptist. Others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you? Jesus asked, who do you? That's what I care about. These other people, yeah, you guys have been around me. You've seen me. You've seen what's going on. Who do you say I am? It's Peter here that speaks up. The 11 stay quiet. Peter speaks up and he says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus replies, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you, Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. Peter listened to God. He overcame failure. He tried again. He didn't fear failure and let it stop him and hold him in place. He succeeds this time and is rewarded for his boldness and his correct answer. What I want to encourage you today is not to let failures hold you back, to keep on trying. Don't let fear come in, fear of failure, and just stop you from giving it your all. Give it your all. If there's one thing I know about you, and from you watching today, you want to seek God. You want to do what's right, and you and God together can accomplish anything, my friend. So let me just say, God bless you for watching, and go out there, fail miserably, and keep on trying. You may fail 100 times, but just go out for that 101st. You never know what can happen. You and God can accomplish anything. God bless y'all for watching today. I'll see y'all again next week. Bye.